What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. And today I have my top 10 in recap after week 7 of college football. Coming into this week, I told y'all it would be a crazy week. I told y'all it'd be one of the best weeks of the year. And oh boy, did it live up to the hype. Now, personally, for me, since I'm an Alabama fan, wasn't exactly the most enjoyable week of the year, to say the least. But in terms of just good football being played, there was tons of good football being played. And if you're wondering, I have already made a video about my reaction to the Tennessee-Alabama game. That should be in the top right corner right now. Go check it out. I give all my thoughts there. I'll talk about it a little bit this video, but all my main thoughts are there. But yeah, I love college football. Thank you for clicking on the video. If you love college football, please subscribe. That's what I talk about. But let's jump into it. Okay. My honorable mentions. I have USC as my third honorable mention. They only have one loss on the season. That one loss came this previous week to Utah, 42-43. Very close game, extremely close game. USC, the defense didn't look great, obviously, giving up 43 to Utah, a team that is already out of playoff contention and has lost 2 games. But I will admit Utah is one of the better 2-loss teams in the country. Couldn't make a case they are the best 2-loss team in the country. And at Utah, I figured USC would drop a game. I predicted them to drop this one. One of the only predictions I got right this week. But yes, worrying for USC, obviously, when you lose a game like that. But I wouldn't hit the panic button if you're the Trojans right now. You can easily still run the table and make the college football playoff. I'm not worried, but right now I have them at 13. At 12, my second honorable mention, I have Oklahoma State. They also lost this past weekend. Their first loss of the season to TCU. TCU, you'll see them in my rankings. TCU's undefeated. A battle of undefeated Big 12 teams. TCU's the only one left, but Oklahoma State put up a good fight. I really thought Oklahoma State was going to pull out with this one. Went to overtime. Great game. Max Duggan versus Spencer Sanders. What a sight to watch. Went back and forth. TCU came back at the end and ended up going into overtime and winning the game. What a showing for TCU. And Oklahoma State, like I said, it's kind of similar with USC. Utah's a good team. TCU is a great team. They are undefeated right now. I give them respect now because they beat Oklahoma State. And I wouldn't hit the panic button. Oklahoma State, obviously, they can still run the table. They can still make the college football playoff. But right now I have them at 12. And at number 11, I have Wake Forest. They were on a bye week this past week. But Wake Forest only has one loss, and that is to a top 5 undefeated Clemson team in double overtime. So I'm not going to penalize them too much for that. Wake Forest is a great team. Sam Hartman is a baller, one of the best quarterbacks in college football. So they are right outside my top 10 and 11. But let's start off with my number 10 team. At number 10, I have the Alabama Crimson Tide. Roll Tide, roll. Obviously not where I'd like them to be. And a lot of people, even Alabama fans, are going to say this is too harsh, and maybe it is. Maybe it is. But I prioritize record the most when I make these rankings. And there's 9 undefeated teams. So I put Alabama as the best one-loss team, as they obviously should be. Last second loss to Tennessee, who has established themselves as a top 5 team in Neyland in front of 1,100 screaming fans. And Alabama just barely lost this game. Now, they did lose. I mean, barely is still a loss, but they did barely lose this game. A few calls go their way, or a missed kick goes their way, or a drop pass, just 1 or 2 mistakes are fixed, and this game could easily be 52-49 Bama wins. Not making excuses, by the way. Like I said, go watch my reaction video, but Alabama at 10, they're still great. Nick Saban's still coaching them. Bryce Young still under center, the best quarterback in the nation. Yes, I still believe he's the best quarterback in the nation. But I am panicking about Alabama a little bit. Maybe that's the fan in me. That's why I'm panicking about Alabama. But the main reason I'm panicking is because this team looks so undisciplined. This is so un-Saban-like. and that's why it's scaring me. I mean, 17 penalties to Tennessee, most in school history. 15 penalties to Texas earlier this year, and Alabama is the most penalized team in the nation out of Power 5 teams, I believe. I believe they're 129th out of 131 FBS teams in penalty yards. I mean, it's just terrible. You've got to fix it. And other than that, you got to fix your defense. 52 points. I know Tennessee's offense is insane. Josh Heupel. I mean, I was already starting to give the guy respect. I should have hopped on the train earlier. But the guy has built. I mean, the guy has built that program up from shambles. I mean, Jeremy Pruitt left that program in shambles. Jeremy Pruitt was terrible. Tennessee was terrible for a long time. I liked it that way. I really liked it that way. And the money bag situation with the McDonald bags, if you remember, I mean, I didn't think Tennessee'd be good for years. And the fact they're already like this, Josh Heupel is an amazing coach. And Hendon Hooker is an amazing, amazing quarterback. So it's not the fact that they lost to Tennessee. It's the fact that they're just so undisciplined and they gave up 52 points. But still, Alabama at 10. Like I said, Nick Saban's still the coach. Bryce Young is still the quarterback. Give me the Crimson Tide at 10. Roll Tide, roll. And as the season progresses, Alabama will move up this list. Trust me. Alabama's getting back into that top 5. Unless something terribly wrong goes happen. Knock on wood for Bama fans. But you most likely see Bama just hop up this list every single week and establish himself back into that top 5, top 4 territory. Next week, they have to play Mississippi State. This is not a gimme game. I'm going to talk more about it in my predictions, so I'm not going to go in depth here. But not a gimme game. Mississippi State only has 2 losses on the year, and Alabama's defense has not proved to be stable at all. Mississippi State's offense is dangerous with Will Rogers and Mike Leach. So we'll see how that goes. At number 9, I have the UCLA Bruins. They did earn a bit of my respect the other week when they beat Utah. Utah, obviously a good team. They beat USC this week with a veteran quarterback, Cam Rising, and some good pieces. Utah did great last year, and UCLA beat them. I did not expect UCLA to be like this. When Chip Kelly first took over, I'm a big Chip Kelly guy. I believe in Chip Kelly. He obviously did great things at Oregon. I think they would do this, but I didn't see it in those first few years. I kind of gave up on him, but he's doing it now. I do not think UCLA is this top-tier team, though. They almost lost to South Alabama, and that's no knock against South Alabama. I love my hometown South Alabama Jaguars. I know I'm a Crimson Tide fan because, Alabama, but, hometown South Alabama Jaguars. But, I mean, you almost lose to a group of 5 team like that. I'm gonna be a bit shaky about you, so I'm ranking them as my least undefeated team. They're on a bye this past week, but this week they got Oregon, a 1-loss Oregon coming up. That'll be an interesting game, and if they really want to prove to me that they're really this top tier undefeated team, they can do it this week at Oregon. Number 8, I have Syracuse. Syracuse is undefeated. Did not expect this. Syracuse have been doing great. Almost said, okay, Tommy DeVito, I believe is his name, the Syracuse quarterback. He's been doing good. Sean Tucker, I mean, one of my favorite players in college football, not on my favorite team, Alabama, but Sean Tucker, what a likable guy, the Syracuse running back, and they're doing good. I mean, they just keep racking up wins. This past week, I know NC State didn't have Devin Leary, their star quarterback, but they still demolished NC State 24-9, and Syracuse keeps racking up wins, man. But this week, they'll have a chance to prove they are an elite top 5 team. They play the Clemson Tigers. That will be an interesting one, and I'll give my full thoughts on that game in my prediction video later this week. At number 7, I have the Ole Miss Rebels, undefeated. This past weekend, they beat Auburn 48-34. They struggled there for a little bit. There's a little bit of a rain-thunder delay, but Ole Miss eventually pulled through. I have questions about Ole Miss's defense. Obviously, I'm not really questioning their offense that much. A little bit. I don't think it's as good as last year. I don't think Jackson Dart is as good of a quarterback as Matt Corral. But undefeated, like I said, Lane Kiffin is a very good coach. Even if I had problems with him at Alabama, a whole nother video for another day. But Lane Kiffin is a great coach at Ole Miss, and they keep winning. They're undefeated. Next week they go play the LSU Tigers, and I think this is a really big matchup for them. I've said this about just about every team on this list, but I swear it's true. We have another great weekend of college football coming up, if you didn't know. LSU Tigers versus Ole Miss Rebels. I think this will say a lot about Ole Miss, based on if they win and how much they win by, yada, yada, yada. But number 7, Ole Miss, undefeated. And number 6, I have TCU. Wow, what a shock. In my preseason predictions, now warranted, I don't watch that much Big 12 football. I try to watch as much as I can, but I'm mainly an SEC guy. I'll admit I'm an SEC homer. But TCU, man, and in my preseason predictions, I didn't have them winning many games. I think I had them lose with a losing record. They've already won more games this season than I had them winning. Undefeated. They beat Oklahoma State this past weekend in overtime. Really surprised the hell out of me. Max Duggan is playing great. The TCU quarterback is a Heisman dark horse, semi-contender. Maybe not a contender or a finalist, but a dark horse, I'll say. At this point in the season, he's been playing great, and I have not expected TCU to make it this far, man. Beating Kansas and now beating Oklahoma State. They have another big game this weekend. Like I said, another big game. Versus Kansas State, a team with only one loss, a team that has been playing great. Adrian Martinez, the Kansas State quarterback, has been playing like one of the best quarterbacks in Power 5 football. So TCU with another chance to prove themselves, but they have earned my respect, and I'll give them that number 6 spot. At number 5, I have the Michigan Wolverines. Undefeated, and they finally got their win. People were saying, oh, Michigan shouldn't be ranked high, that blah, 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 blah. They didn't have a big win. Well, they finally got it this weekend versus what I think is a good Penn State team. A Penn State team with many flaws, but a good Penn State team nonetheless. And they just demolished them 41-17. Now, the box score doesn't say how close this game really was. Michigan really pulled away in the fourth quarter, but I think that says a lot about Michigan and how just resilient they are, and how they just pull away in the fourth quarter. I mean, the fourth quarter, most important time of the ball game, really. And the fact they just hammered them and pulled away in the fourth quarter is impressive to me. That running back duo for Michigan is one of the best in the country. I believe it's Edwards and Corum. Yeah, that's insane. But they finally got a good win. I wanted to put them at 4, but at number 4, I have the Clemson Tigers. Undefeated, and Clemson, they're back, man. What can I say? I want to say I've been rooting against them, but I've been picking against them constantly. These last 3 weeks they've played, or last 3 to 4 weeks, I'll say, they've played Florida State, NC State, and Wake Forest. I predicted them to lose all 3 of those games, and they have won all 3 of those games. They have definitely earned my respect. I can never pronounce his name. I'm going to learn it one day. DJ Uiagalelei, he is clicking. He is starting to become a good quarterback. I was an open DJ hater, but he is improving like crazy. And Clemson, man, I tell you, don't overlook them. As much as I do not like Clemson, don't overlook them. I have them at number 4. At number 3, I have the Ohio State Buckeyes. This past weekend, they were on a bye, but undefeated, and a lot of people have them at number 1, and I can't blame them too much. According to the pure eye test, you can make a case Ohio State is the best team in college football. C.J. Stroud looks like the best player in college football, maybe except Bryce Young, Hendon Hooker, Roll Tide. But again, Ohio State, their receiving core is crazy, the best receiving core in college football. They have a great running back room. Just insane talent on that team. And Ryan Day is a good coach. C.J. Stroud is an amazing player. And this team, I just think they're going to go undefeated. I had them winning the Big Ten and going to the national championship in my preseason predictions, and I still think that. They just keep winning games. Now, have they looked amazing every single bit of the year? No. They struggled with a bad Notre Dame team to begin the year. But I will say Notre Dame, that was more of a hyped matchup at the time, a lot of emotions. Notre Dame probably playing as hard as they could, and we didn't really know Notre Dame was going to be that bad at the time. They only beat them by 11, but they did win by double digits. Give them credit for that. But they got That they'll get their test. They'll get their test later this season. They still got teams like Penn State, Maryland, and Michigan on their schedule. So Ohio State will get their test. But right now I got them at 3. At number 2, it pains me so much to do this. Tennessee at number 2. The Tennessee Volunteers undefeated, and they are the story of college football at the moment. Of course, like I said, beating my Alabama Crimson Tide. And man, this Tennessee team, I was talking about them earlier, but Josh Heupel, like I said, that program was just, it's been terrible for a long time. They haven't won anything significant since 1998. They haven't beat Alabama since 2006. And they beat Alabama, and they're undefeated, and they're number 3 in the AP poll, and they're number 2 in my personal poll. Really, they do look like the best team in football right now. I mean, they obviously beat Alabama, and that's not an easy task to say the least. And they didn't beat Alabama. They just, I mean, defensively, they destroyed Alabama. They destroyed Alabama's defense, as much as that hurts me to say. I'm a believer in Tennessee. As much as I cannot stress this enough. That hurts me to say. I cannot stand Tennessee. I hate them. I hate their colors. Hate their mascot. You know what? I don't got enough time in this video to go on about how much I hate Tennessee. But number 2, nonetheless, they are a good team. Hendon Hooker. I've been on this train since last year. I don't think I made a video about it because I quit making videos for a time. But Hendon Hooker. I knew he was going to be a good quarterback under this Josh Heupel system. He was great last year in the yards per attempt. Go look at it. I mean, but I didn't think he'd be this good. I'll admit that. Tennessee, number 2. And at number 1, I have the Georgia Bulldogs. This past weekend, they beat Vanderbilt 55-0. And they improved to undefeated. If you're going to cry that Tennessee or Ohio State would be number 1, don't. Because literally, if you've watched my channel, all year, I've had them at number 1. My rule is the undefeated, the defending national champion is always number 1 until they lose a game. So until Georgia drops a game, they'll stay number 1. They've been in a slump. I know these past few weeks, they were close against Missouri. They played bad against Kent State, and just some non-impressive wins. But I think that was just a mid-season slump. I mean. And they're breaking out of it. They just demolished Vandy, which maybe not saying much, but they did. Stetson Bennett's a great quarterback. Kirby Smart, one of the best coaches in college football. Second or third only to Coach Saban and maybe Coach Dabo Swinney. I mean, Kirby Smart is such a great coach. Trust me. Had the privilege of watching him a little bit at Alabama. Kirby Smart's such a good coach. And that's such a talented and well-coached team. As much as I don't like Georgia either, trust me, I hate putting Georgia 1 and Tennessee 2. But I try to leave bias out of these videos. So Georgia 1, Tennessee 2, Ohio State 3, Clemson 4, Michigan 5, TCU 6, Ole Miss 7, Syracuse 8, UCLA 9, and my Alabama Crimson Tide at number 10. What do you think? Do you disagree with me? Where would you put Alabama? Who's your number 1? Do you have Georgia, Tennessee, Ohio State? Let me know in the comments below. I read all of them, and I love hearing opinions about college football. But that has been it for this video. Thank you for watching, and peace.